Okay, I'd like to bring the Upper Moreland Township regular meeting for September 11th, 2023 to order. First, I'd like to have a moment of silence, and please remember the first responders and citizens that lost lives and were injured at our 9/11 attack and incident in New York. That, please rise. Pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, roll call.
Ward 1, Ward 2,
Here.
Ward 3,
Here.
Ward 4,
Here.
Ward 5,
Here.
Ward 6,
Here.
Ward 7.
Here.
Mr. President, all commissioners are present.
Okay, next, we have some presentations tonight. Chief Block, would you take care of these for us?
Yes, thank you, President McFatridge. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a few presentations to make. The first presentation this evening I think is very appropriate for today. Obviously, it's Patriot Day, as President McFatridge just said, but at this time, we have 4 young men here, and 3 of these young men we're going to honor this evening, and we're going to explain to you what happened, and this goes back to August 8th. So at this time, I'd ask that Chris Harder, Joey Hartman, Isaac Sterling, and Gavin, let's please stand up. These 4 young men are right here. So what had occurred, and Chief Glassman is with me, he has some proclamations we're going to hand out momentarily. But what happened was back on August 8th of this year at 4:21 p.m., the Montgomery County Communications Center received a 911 call reporting that a tree had fallen on a 13-year-old male at Memorial Park located at 220 Mineral Avenue. The Montgomery County Emergency Operations Center dispatched the Upper Moreland Township Police and Fire Departments and the 2nd Alarmers Rescue Squad as the young male victim, Gavin Hutz, had sustained a head injury from the tree falling on him on a path. Whereas Gavin's friends, Chris, Joey, Isaac, were riding their bicycles along with Gavin when the tree fell onto him. Whereas Chris, Joey, and Isaac worked together to remove Gavin from the downed tree limb and brought him to a place of safety. Joey remained with Gavin and called 911 reporting the incident, which initiated the Upper Moreland Township Emergency Services response to Memorial Park. Chris and Isaac rode their bicycles to the entrance of Memorial Park, providing Gavin's location to the responding police, fire, and EMS personnel for the treatment and transportation of Gavin for the injuries he sustained to the hospital. He was transported by 2nd Alarmers Rescue Squad to Abington Hospital for further medical intervention and treatment of his head injury. Now, therefore, being it proclaimed that Chris Harder, Joey Hartman, Isaac Sterling are hereby recognized and commended for their quick action in removing Gavin from a downed tree limb, it is further proclaimed that the quick action and by calling 911 and directing the emergency service into the park resulted in Gavin's injuries being treated in an expeditious manner, making for a full recovery from his injuries sustained in this accident. Chris, Joey, and Isaac are recognized for their quick actions, which clearly assisted in mitigating the injuries that were sustained on that evening. This proclamation is hereby presented by the Upper Moreland Township Board of Commissioners on this 11th day of September, 2023. Well done, gentlemen. In addition to the proclamations that you've received, we are going to present each of you with an Upper Moreland Township Police Benevolent Association coin for your service and for what you've done. Congratulations. Everybody gets one. Congratulations. Congratulations.
You get one of them? Yeah.
Counts towards your time.
Okay, gentlemen, well done and well honored on Patriots Day, and a lot of forward thinking here made all the difference in the world. Thank you very much.
Okay, Chief. Well done, you come up here. I think they're just taking a picture. Just them. We're going to do all pictures at one time, just so you know, Sam. We're going to do all pictures at one time after.
Okay, cool.
They just had
Thank you.
you were here with the asked us if they could go. You have to go to a soccer coordinator.
How you doing? At this time, I would ask that for our next item on the agenda, Officer John McGovern to step up to the front with his wife Meg, and also Lieutenants Ruddle and Lieutenant Kelly. So this evening, this is a bittersweet situation. What's bitter about it is Officer John McGovern has retired from the police department as a sworn officer, so we've lost an incredible officer here. But what is sweet about it is he has decided to remain with us, working as a civilian in our control room for replacing Bill Hoffman, who just recently retired. So he has some rather large shoes to fill there. But like I said, it's a bittersweet situation. So this evening, we have a retirement proclamation that we want to present to John and his wife, Maggie, because we know behind every successful officer is their wives. So as a result of that, whereas Officer John J. McGovern enlisted with the Upper Moreland Township Police Department as a police officer on January 13th, 1994, where Officer McGovern was assigned to the Patrol Division, providing uniform patrol services to the residents and citizens of Upper Moreland Township from June 13th, 1994 to July 4th, 2023. Whereas Officer McGovern was assigned as one of the first bicycle officers in 1999 with the Township Police Department and provided bike patrols throughout Upper Moreland. Whereas Officer McGovern served the department as a certified firearms instructor, armorer, from 2000 through 2023, and a defensive tactics instructor from 2007 through 2023. Whereas Officer McGovern further served the police department in the capacity as a traffic accident crash reconstructionist from 1995 through 2023. And whereas Officer McGovern was appointed as an officer in charge for numerous squads that he supervised throughout the course of his career. Also, whereas Officer McGovern served as an operator on the Eastern Montgomery County and the Moreland area SWAT response team from 1996 to 2006. And in 2006, Officer McGovern, during his service as a SWAT team member, was appointed as an assistant team leader. Officer McGovern was subsequently appointed as a SWAT team leader in 2012 and served in this capacity until his retirement from SWAT in 2019. Now therefore it be proclaimed that Officer John J. McGovern faithfully served the residents and citizens of Upper Moreland Township for 29 years and honorably retired on July 4th, 2023. And this proclamation is presented by the Upper Moreland Township Board of Commissioners on this 11th day of September, 2023. And customary, when we have an officer that retires from the police department, we always present that officer with a retired badge. And it is my pleasure to present this with you and hold it in good health.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're not doing.
Todd, we're going to do all pictures at the end.
Easy, yeah.
Good evening. We have some commendations to award to our Criminal Investigation Division. I'd like to call Detective Mark Bolton up. Whereas on January 26, 2023, Detective Mark Bolden was assigned to the investigation of a strong-arm robbery at the Willow Grove Walmart. The offender in this case approached the cashier and purchased a small, inexpensive item. Once the register drawer was opened, the offender forcibly grabbed all the money from the register and fled the store. Whereas Detective Bolden immediately recognized this robbery matched the modus operandi of numerous other robberies in the region, began gathering the intelligence from other regional robberies. Detective Bolden's efforts determined that the same offender had committed the same offense in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, concentrating on large box stores. Whereas Detective Bolden was able to identify several vehicles that the offender was utilizing in these robberies, and through coordination with various other agencies, he developed a suspect. Whereas a search warrant was executed on the suspect's home in Philadelphia, where items were seized that linked the suspect to the robberies. Detective Bolden interrogated the suspect, who admitted to the robberies and identified co-conspirators in an organized robbery crew. Whereas because of Detective Bolden's actions, 15 robberies in Pennsylvania have been cleared to date, and information was provided to various agencies affected by this organized robbery crew throughout the Mid-Atlantic region. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Upper Moreland Township Board of Commissioners commends Detective Mark Bolden for his exceptional investigative efforts. Mark, you want to stay up here? Okay, sure.
Commissioners and ladies and gentlemen, the next item that we have here for recognition is some phenomenal work. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Lieutenant Kelly momentarily, but many of you remember that recently and earlier this year we had the armed robbery, carjacking, and kidnapping at the Acme Corrugated Box Company on Turnpike Drive. Our officers here that are going to be recognized this evening did a phenomenal job on this investigation. As a result of all their efforts, we're able to make an arrest in this situation. Some of it was technology, but a lot of it, believe it or not, was gumshoe police work where they were out there literally pounding the pavements to make this happen. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Lieutenant Kelly. He's going to give you the specifics on it. And once again, my hat is off to these individuals that worked this investigation.
Together. Small. Whereas on June 1st, 2023, the Upper Moreland Criminal Investigation Division initiated an investigation into an armed robbery and kidnapping that occurred at the Acme Corrugated Box Company, located at 2700 Turnpike Drive. Whereas detectives interviewed the victim, who had been carjacked at gunpoint and forced to drive to his home in Philadelphia, where the suspect then conducted a home invasion robbery. Detectives processed both the Montgomery County scene and the Philadelphia crime scene, as well as the victim's vehicle, for forensic evidence. Whereas detectives located, downloaded, and combed through hours of surveillance footage that not only captured images of the crimes, but documented the route of travel linking the two crime scenes together and the path of escape when the offender fled the second crime scene and was eventually picked up by a ride-share vehicle. Whereas detectives executed search warrants on the various ride-share applications and identified an unwitting driver that picked up the offender immediately after the home invasion. As a result of these actions and search warrants, the offender was identified. Whereas the Upper Moreland Police, the Philadelphia East Detective Division, Philadelphia SWAT, and the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force executed a search warrant on the offender's last known address. The offender was arrested without incident, interrogated, and admitted to the armed carjacking and home invasion. The firearm utilized in the crime was recovered and determined to be stolen with an obliterated serial number. Now therefore be resolved that the Upper Moreland Township Board of Commissioners commends the Criminal Investigation Division in their tenacious investigation which resulted in the arrest of this extremely dangerous and violent criminal. Thank you.
Now we're gone now. What's the matter with you, Ruby? You beat it, boy.
Because Matt sits in that chair once in a while.
Okay, next on the agenda, just so everybody knows, public hearing 1966, will be heard on October,
October 2nd, if the applicant authorizes us to re-advertise it for October 2nd.
okay, they had some things to clear up before they actually came into us with our engineers and some of the comments, so they wanted to postpone it for a month, so they will be in next month. Going from there, public comments, non-agenda items only.
I'm Kathy Martin Kaplan.
Loretta DiCello.
We live in Shoemaker Village, Ward 7, and it became aware earlier this summer that there's a new website that's basically the Airbnb of swimming pools called Swimply, where people can rent out their swimming pools by the hour. So basically having an unlicensed swim club in our neighborhood. And there is one. And it just, so many safety concerns. Where are these people coming in from? Is the homeowner CPR certified? Do they have a lifeguard? Do they have a business license with the township like I have to have for my Pampered Chef business? I work full-time outside the home. Other people in the neighborhood have business licenses. My husband has to have one as an Uber Eats driver. We brought this to the attention of the code enforcement officer. He didn't seem to have a problem with it. And he agreed that they did not have a business license. He checked. He said that if we had any concerns or saw any unusual activity, to bring it to someone's attention. Well, it just so happened 2 days later, when I came home from work at 6:15 on a Friday night, two teens were jumping out of the water retention basin directly next to this property on Ivy Stream. And they got in their car and they sat there for a long time. One came out of the front of the water retention basin, one came out on the other side of the water retention basin from the Swimply home. They got in their car and they sat there. So I started to walk down Brockton Road to ask them what was going on. 18 years I've lived in this house. I can see the water retention basin from my front door. I witness it every day as I walk out. I've never seen anyone inside the water retention basin. They drove up the street with their windows down with a passenger in the back seat with his hands over his face. Do you find that suspicious behavior? I did. I asked them what they were doing in there. They slowed down and said, "What did you say?" I said, "What were you doing in the water retention basin?" They sped up the street before I could get their license plate. I find this a little bizarre, being right next to the house that's now advertising an unsanctioned, unlicensed swimming pool in the neighborhood. I had to deal with pool hopping back in 07, 08, and 09 when my son was a teenager and in the high school. This happens in the middle of the night at midnight, and they think it's fun. But I'm liable if anybody gets hurt. These weren't my son's friends. He was in bed. These were just general people from the neighborhood that knew we had a pool. I also have a pool. I would never think of renting it out to a family or friend because of the liability, let alone complete strangers. I've lived here through Party Mom, 2 tragic deaths of people, teens in our neighborhood due to poor judgment. I don't need a pop-up unlicensed swim club in my neighborhood to make the news with another tragedy.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for coming. I know you came to us the wrong night, but I'm glad you came back. I know I've had a couple discussions with Paul. We'll have some answers, community development next Monday? Yeah, next Monday, we should have some answers. That's actually the meeting that does handle that. Okay, the code enforcement hearing.
Okay,
and
we'll
stuff.
come back.
But thank you for that. We are aware of it.
Thank you for listening to us. And right now, me and my husband both having to have the business license, and I know that's about all they can address right now. I'd like some clarity on that, whether they've been addressed about that issue. We didn't know about it till last year.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's a popular thing. From what I hear, I have a pool also the same.
If you go on the website, it's all over. And now they've upped it from $25 an hour, this particular house, to $35 to $65, depending how many people you have. An hour, not a day, an hour.
Yeah. I had my wife look into that. So only after you said it. I've never heard of it before.
I had never until she advertised it on the next door.
We'll have some more answers coming up, what we can do, what we can't do, and that stuff.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
The other thing to note too, just in advance of coming next week, go online and get the agenda, because if there's any other supplementary information that's applied to the discussion, you can read it in advance. That usually goes up on Thursday.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
the only other thing, I'm sure the chief's back there cringing, when you saw the people in the back holding their hands and going through, call.
I will.
Call.
We wanted to address it with you guys
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And they weren't teens from the neighborhood.
Yeah. Anytime we hear something,
Hear about this, they're bringing people into our neighborhood. I have a pool, 4 of my 2 neighbors and another house next to one of my neighbors, we all have pools. I don't need people coming in, not paying me $65 an hour and using my pool when I'm at work all day.
okay. But we kind of try and drill that into people, call it that time.
Yeah.
Because if there is an officer in the area, they can get there quicker, they can find out things, but at least they know to look for it then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just briefly, Commissioner Seaworth, Lamana, Ward 6. I know it's back to school, but I just wanted to say that maybe it's because I do work from home and I do have a license to do that here. Thank you to the wonderful people who came forward. I see a lot of traffic, and Ward 6 is, as you well know, state roaded by Edgehill, Davisville, and Turwood. Turwood from the lower Moreland line all the way out to the beginning of Fitzwatertown, York Road. Recently, school's back in session, and people are just not paying attention. I just wanted to say the safety, traffic safety is of enormous importance all through the township. We've heard it before, all of you live here. Our neighborhoods are not cut-throughs. I know Warminster's closed. I know there's frustration about that. But Davisville is not a road race. I know Turwood is an old farm road, and we drove back in the day. We're White Feather Farm, after all. We drove our animals out that way and took them to the railroad. So it curves, and I know it's compelling, but it's 30 to 35 there, and people have to get in and out of their driveways. It's insane to see somebody going 50 miles an hour through those curves. You may be having a great time of it. Past Commissioner Valenza's house is another horrible spot where everybody thinks it's Le Mans, from the top of where Manor House comes in, right past Sam's house and all the way down to the flat. The people that live on the flat, the people who have to turn up Overlook, take their life in their hands to come out of their driveways there. We just need to have more support of the slow down Upper Moreland approach. It's 25 through our entire township, is it not? Have I made a mistake about that on York
25
to
were
Easton?
residential streets.
Well, all the way up York until you hit the top of the hill and the post office. Then it becomes Le Mans at that point down to the turnpike. We know where you're going. It's also 40 in front of the high school from all the way up to the turnpike. We know where you're going. But when you're in our neighborhoods, it's 30 to 35. Or on my strip, sorry, people, from Huntington on Edgehill out to Turwood is 25. When people want to do the Huntington Road hills and come up and go around the June Fade, they are baited for a bear. I'm going 25 because the deer cross. I don't want to kill a deer. I have been passed and illegally so many times with people who are so angry at me for going, okay, I go, don't listen, Chief. I go like 36, you know what I mean? I am not I'm not going to 24 in a 30 zone. So we just need to all get on board with the lowering our blood pressure. Wherever you're going, you'll get there if you go at 25. And school buses with flashing lights require that you stop fully. But I've been passed way too many times into the left lane. Then that Amazon truck stops. Yeah. Just saying that we need to pay way greater attention. It's only September, and I've seen about 4 or 5 near accidents. And so just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention in the township as a whole. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. I know traffic department that we have writes a lot of tickets. Okay, next, Treasurer's activity report.
Make a motion to approve the treasurer's activity report for August 2023.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Public discussion. Anyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 7, 2023.
Second.
Got a motion, we have a second. Any discussion, any changes? Anybody from the audience? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Motion passes. Committee recommendations, Finance Administrative Committee. Mr. Valenza.
Their Finance and Business and Administration Committee recommends the following, but there are no appointments or reappointments at this time. Next, we go into list of bills payable, general fund checks, beginning with check number 138499 and ending with 138827 for a total of $1,851,752.85 with no voids. Escrow fund checks, beginning with check number 9665 and ending with 9680 for a total of $60,471.59 with no voids. And liquid fuel fund checks, beginning with check number 3074 and ending with 3086 for a total of $530,478.38 with no voids.
Second? Second. Okay, we have a second. Any questions on this from the board?
There's a revised copy of what we got earlier in Friday, I guess the last week, that's on the, was a mistake in the liquid fuel funds checks, and it's if you have any questions of why the numbers were, just 2 digits were reversed.
Okay. Any comments from the public? No? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain?
That concludes business for Finance and Administration.
Next, Community Development, Mr. Spearing.
Community Development Committee has no action item this evening. We do, however, have a list of zoning hearings coming up for this Thursday, September 14th at 7:30 p.m. Read them now. Public hearing 23-2113, petition of United Parcel Service for property located at 1001 South York Road. Applicant is seeking variance from Uppermoor Township Code, Chapter 350, to operate a staging area and storage area for trucks. A variance from Article 24, Section 350-184 for more than one principal use on a lot or parcel. Property located in the C2 zoning district. We also have a public hearing number 23-22 for a property located at 710 Lincoln Avenue, Willow Grove. Applicant is seeking a variance from Uppermoor Township Code for a side yard setback of 3.2 feet instead of the minimum of 5 feet for masonry accessory building. A variance from Section 350-172 for an overall accessory building area of 760 feet instead of the maximum of 300 feet. Applicant proposes to extend an existing non-conforming accessory building property located in the R4 zoning district. And finally, public hearing 23-23 for the property at 2910 Edge Hill Road, Huntington Valley. Applicant seeks a variance from Uppermoor Township Code for a side yard setback of 10 feet instead of the minimum of 20 feet for an accessory building in the front of the rear building line. Variance for Section 350-172.A, subsection 3, for a wall height of 9.5 feet instead of maximum height of 9 feet. Applicant proposes constructing a 30-foot by 24-foot accessory building, and the property is in R1 zoning district. That's the items on the zoning hearing agenda for this Thursday, September 14th at 7:30. That concludes the Business and Community Development Committee.
Okay, next, Public Health and Safety.
Yes, public health, safety, nothing to report at this time.
Thank you, Charles. Next, we have Parks and Recreation Committee. Mr. Scull?
As previously, Parks and Recreation has no items for this night's meeting.
Any other commissioner comments for tonight?
So we've been advised that, the Warminster Road Bridge is experiencing more delays. Do we have an anticipated date for that?
The latest we've heard is December of this year.
So my thoughts are that I came out Warminster Road to York Road and then sat through a left turn arrow. Why? So I think all these traffic lights that are being evaluated or not, Byberry Road, was really bad traffic. And when school started, it got worse. So was there some kind of evaluation of all the lights that support this detour? And I don't, for one, I don't think I need a left-hand turn arrow coming out of Warminster Road. Commissioner McFasher would love that one going into Warminster Road. But, it just seems like a waste of time. And we heard about, road rage and anticipated friction on the highway. So this is just one more thing. If we cut down on traffic, maybe we'd be able to make sure PennDOT does the right thing.
Kevin, what should have been done was that these items should have been addressed years ago. PennDOT went out of the way to fix things so that they could do road work. And I suggested that before this took place, that they should make 3 lanes from the high school up to York Road so that you can have a right turn lane, straight lane, and a left lane all the way down. And McMahon told me that they could do it. This is just stuff that we're missing because we're not forcing PennDOT to make accommodations to handle the traffic that they cause because of the construction. Just a suggestion that in the future, maybe we could consider it.
So I do remember, thank you, Commissioner Valenza. I do remember extensive timing evaluations and traffic studies years ago when the Davisville Road was replaced, totally replaced. And buses had to be rerouted, similar to the Byberry Road, not quite as extensive as a operation, but we had traffic planning involved and there was timing of other lights and little things that can be done to help smooth the traffic problems that we experience on a regular basis. Thank you, Sam.
No problem.
I would have a comment too. That light at Church in 611 there, I've been stopped there 3 or 4 times, traffic stopped both directions.
It's not going to get fixed till they put the.
Yeah, well, there's no traffic. We're just sitting there for nothing. And then finally cycles and then you go through.
I would recommend that you go out another side street if you have to make a left. Because I used to come down and if there was a car in front of me, I had to wait forever. And so I started coming out Quigley or.
Well, the right turn, it does signal.
Yeah.
When the car stops on the hill. But coming up to 611, when it turns red, it's just red.
It's because that part of Church Street got remilled or repaved this year. So when they did it, they hit all the, whatever you call them on the roadway that signals the lights. But we can always get cameras to do away with them, but that's a lot of money.
I just want to make sure I understand the Warminster Road Bridge thing, Matt. Did PennDOT contact us or you?
About the bridge?
Yeah.
We had a meeting probably a month ago, and they said at that time it was December.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I don't know what all the delays were. I mean,
There's nobody there working.
I don't think the weather's been unusual until maybe this past
Well, it was
weekend.
supposed to be November, so it's only a month late.
Okay, I thought it was October, but, all right, so they just said by the end of December?
That's what they say.
All right, thank you.
Okay, is that it from everybody on the board?
I just want to remind everyone in the audience as well as the DS that schools are open. We stop when the red lights on school bus are flashing, as we said earlier, for the safety of all children.
Okay, with that, my comment is, Matt, if you would, make sure whoever is responsible for not having our Davisville Road and Byberry Road and all of our arms, I would assume it's going to be McMahon, we want to hear an explanation why it hasn't been done, and if not, why whoever hasn't gone to our local representatives. This is an emergency arms that we put up for flooding. We've had several floods since then. The police got to call in Public Works. By the time they get out there with their barricades, you know, we've been having police officers sitting there. To me, and I'm sure Kevin, I know we've talked about it several times, it's unacceptable for 2 years not to get a permit. And I don't know if the ball was dropped, if they just don't want to deal with us, PennDOT. Something's got to be done, and I'm going to assume it's McMahon that filed everything, but I want them here, whoever who is involved in it, on our community development next week.
It'll be on the agenda next week.
Okay. That was the only thing I had. All right, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.